reversed.
Yo, King Bullet back, and the question today is who would win if Naruto fought Sasuke at the 5 Kage Summit? Of course, at the end of the 5 Kage Summit arc, after defeating Danzo, Naruto would face off against Sasuke in a scuffle which would end up as a draw. Naruto didn't use his much awaited Sage Mode to fight this almost blind Sasuke, but it became apparently clear that power and skill alone weren't enough to win this fight. The exchange would lead to Naruto revealing that both would die if they fought at their full power. To bring Sasuke over to his side, he had to do more than just beat him physically, he had to beat him psychologically and philosophically. In a controversial view, Naruto questions his ability to even fight Sasuke, so this begs the question, who would actually win if the two of them fought? What if, after the 5 Kage Summit, Naruto instead arrived there earlier to see Sasuke before he'd even fought Danzo? In his hypothetical, Naruto would stop Sasuke from pursuing Danzo, allowing him to get away. This would seriously anger Sasuke, to the point he would attack Naruto, obviously. It would also make Sasuke more powerful, since the power of a Sharingan is determined by your emotions. Naruto then instantly transforms into Sage Mode by releasing a clone who'd been building up nature energy. Naruto suspected that he would have to fight Sasuke since he could sense his rage-filled chakra as he was travelling there with Sage Mode. So getting into this video, just how strong is Naruto around the time of the 5 Kage Summit? While Naruto is stronger than his master Kakashi now in his base form, Kakashi himself admits that he's nowhere near as strong as Naruto now that he's learnt the Rasen Shuriken. The Rasen Shuriken took out Kakuzu and was stated to be a power that Minato himself could not achieve. Shortly after, Naruto would go and train on Mount Murobuku, also known as the Mountain of Bewilderment and the Land of Toads. The objective was to fully master Jiraiya's power Sage Mode in the hopes it would allow him to improve his Rasen Shuriken. His Rasen Shuriken was only at 50%. He wanted to max it out and make it as efficient as possible, using 100% of his power. But he also didn't want there to be any drawbacks, since it would have possibly destroyed his chakra network. So once he had achieved the perfect Sage Mode, he had finally reached a new realm of power according to Shikamaru's father, who should have a good understanding of Sage Mode, since Senjutsu is taught in school according to the novels. Naruto had now surpassed his predecessors Jiraiya and Minato, at least in power. Sage Mode was stated to dramatically enhance one's ninjutsu, genjutsu, and taijutsu. Since he has now perfected Sage Mode, meaning that he also has surpassed the increase of imperfect Sage transformations such as the second stage of a Curse Mark, which is a 10 times increase in chakra and power, Naruto should get a similar increase, if not far greater, if I'm being honest. Now with this incredible power, he goes on to fight Pain, who I don't think Naruto is as strong as, if I'm being honest. If you recall, at the beginning of the fight, Naruto and Pain swap hands, and I'm not gonna lie, Naruto was giving Pain the hands, but to be completely fair, Pain wasn't at full power yet. It stated that he was still recovering. He hadn't fully regained his chakra from destroying the village using his almighty push yet. After fully regaining his power, he overwhelmed Sage Naruto, and angered him into transforming once he harmed his girl. From here on out, Pain struggled to restrain Naruto, as he upped the gears and weakened Pain. After Pain had once again almost depleted all of his chakra, using the planetary devastation, Naruto would overwhelm him and finish him off. Naruto had finally surpassed his master Jiraiya. His Sage Mode was stronger than Jiraiya's, as directly stated in the 4th databook. Jiraiya in his base form alone was equal to Orochimaru, the same Orochimaru who was capable of fighting Hiruzen, the strongest Kage in part 1 of Naruto, according to Kabuto. So I think it's fair to say that Naruto is in a different realm in comparison to Kage like Hiruzen, and has even now surpassed the likes of a Sannin. So I guess now we can talk about Sasuke's strength around the time of the 5 Kage Summit. Well, at this point, he had already fought Killer Bee, and in Killer Bee's own words, he gave him the toughest fight. Killer Bee has sparred his brother A, and has been in life and death situation against the likes of Minato multiple times. So this means that he considers Sasuke a threat to his life, somebody who could defeat and even kill him. At the beginning of the fight, Sasuke is struggling to keep up with Killer Bee's attacks. Not only was Killer Bee faster and stronger than Sasuke here, but his fighting style was created to confuse analytical fighters like Sasuke. His acrobat style was stated to be completely unpredictable. Killer Bee was also able to throw his swords from normally awkward positions to either hit his opponents from range or impale his opponent at close range to cause damage that would be lethal, even charging them with lightning chakra. But throughout the fight, Sasuke began to adapt to his attacks and got stronger and faster as the Sharingan matured. This is when Sasuke, using his Sharingan, manages to react to Killer Bee's lariat. He uses his normal Sharingan to observe it, and then manages to do multiple flips to avoid it physically. Just for reference, the lariat is an attack performed by the Raikage and Killer Bee. It requires light speed movement, so avoiding it for Sasuke is an incredible feat. This is when Killer Bee is forced to stop playing around in his own words, and would use what the 4th databook states is his full power versus Sasuke by transforming into the 8 Tails, Yukui. Sasuke then cuts one of his tentacles off with a Chidori stream and even sets him on fire, so Sasuke using his Mangekyo Sharingan is obviously way stronger now than he was before, which should be obvious since his Mangekyo Sharingan gives him more chakra, and with his new power he should rival stronger Biju like the Eight Tails. Kurama states that Gukui is the most powerful Biju after himself. Gukui doesn't like the fact that Kurama uses his line of logic to bully the One Tails, so is Kurama's statement even true? Well, I would say yes, because the 4th databook confirms that Kurama is in fact the strongest tailed beast, and Gukui we know is somewhat comparable to him. Together both create a Biju bomb that can match the other Biju bomb of the other remaining Biju combined. To back this up further, narratively speaking, the more tails that you have, the more chakra and strength you're usually given. That's why Naruto constantly gets stronger when he grows more tails. So obviously the more tails you have as a tailed beast, and the more transformations you have, the stronger you can get. Killer Bee is revered as a perfect Jinchuriki, so his power should be rivaling that of the other Jinchuriki at full power because of his mastery over his immense chakra. Which we know is true because we do see him fight other Jinchuriki and Biju during the War Arc, the same people who are capable of fighting the likes of Kurama Chakra Mode Naruto with their Biju transformations. So the question is, can Sage Mode Naruto beat an opponent who is roughly around the level of Kurama Chakra Mode in Sasuke? Despite all of this, Obito and Zetsu still think, even though Sasuke has beaten Killer Bee, isn't really a threat to Naruto. Zetsu is confident that Naruto is too strong for Sasuke, purely under the assumption that now he's beaten the invincible pain. Now this doesn't necessarily mean that Sage Mode Naruto is stronger than Sasuke, since the version of Naruto that pressured and almost beat Pain was his partial Kurama transformation, not Sage Mode. In fact, Sage Mode Naruto's power was completely negated by Pain's almighty push. His Taijutsu and Ninjutsu were equally ineffective. It'd only be when Naruto raged against Pain and overwhelmed him with the Nine-Tailed Chakra, he was capable of ripping through his gravity produced from an almighty push, as wild as that sounds. Pain was clearly uncomfortable for the first time for the whole fight. He began to sweat, was forced to run and use his strongest attacks. Zetsu didn't technically clarify what version of Naruto he was talking about that could defeat Sasuke. It's heavily implied that he was referring to one of Naruto's nine-tailed powers, since Sage Mode clearly wasn't enough to take Pain down. I don't even think he saw the fight either, so his statements don't really support Sage Mode Naruto being stronger than Sasuke at all. Anyway, to build on this argument, while Naruto was travelling to the Kage Summit to stop Sasuke, he used Sage Mode. Sage Mode allows the user to sense chakra. For example, Naruto could sense all of the chakras in his village, noticing different chakra signatures, such as Kakashi's when it was gone. Later he'd see the events of the 4th Shinobi War all across the planet, while also having the ability to sense the depths of a Ten Tails nature energy, which was too much for him. So without a doubt, Naruto should be able to sense and gauge Sasuke's dark chakra that surpasses the chakra of the curse mark, while on his way to fight Sasuke. It would be weird for him to not size up Sasuke. After defeating Danzo, Sasuke's eyesight regresses, and he clearly becomes weaker. Kakashi arrives to the battlefield before Naruto to fight Sasuke, whose power he seems to be struggling against. Shortly afterward, Naruto also arrives to save Sakura by easily outspeeding this almost blind and weakened Sasuke. He tells Sasuke if they were to fight, both he and Sasuke would die. Now he's obviously faster and more powerful than his weakened Sasuke, so I assume he's talking about if both were at full power. Now this doesn't mean that he was referring to Sage Mode being capable of killing Sasuke. He very well could have been talking about that, but he also could have been talking about Kurama's chakra. Later on, when Konoha is being rebuilt, Kiba brings up the fact that Sasuke was weakened near blindness. Somebody who could defeat the legendary Pain should have been able to defeat Sasuke very easily. Naruto replies to Kiba by saying, although Sasuke had almost depleted all of his chakra, he doesn't think that raw power alone would have been enough to persuade Sasuke. He notes that there's something else other than Sasuke's power that he needs to overcome. While he is technically referring to the cycle of hatred, Naruto isn't confident that he can beat Sasuke physically either. When Naruto returned back to Mount Muabuku, shortly after this to talk to the Great Toad Sage, they talk about having the Nine-Tails power resealed, but Naruto tells him that he can't beat Sasuke without the Nine-Tails power. Now this means Naruto thinks that his own power isn't enough to win against him. Some of you might question how Naruto knows how strong Sasuke even is, but like I explained earlier, on the way to the bridge he was in Sage Mode. He should have been able to sense Sasuke's powerful chakra. When Naruto states that he needs the Nine-Tails power, he seems to be talking about the forms he used to overwhelm Pain, since those are the only forms at the time that are superior to his own Sage power. Naruto even visualizes his partial transformation on the same page. He could actually be talking about him needing to master and control the Nine-Tails power in order to face Sasuke. Anyway, Sasuke seems to be a lot stronger than Naruto's Sage Mode, for sure. To doubly prove all of this, going back to Sasuke, we established that he is around the power of the Eight Tails because he could pressure and harm him. Sasuke cutting the Eight Tails is super impressive because Biju like the Eight Tails can tank their own Biju bombs imploding on themselves, with extreme difficulty of course. Usually as Biju bombs go off, you can see the curvature of the planet. So Killer Bee rivals Kurama Chakra Mode Naruto at speed and power, as shown during their training. To support Killer Bee being this level, he was able to fight Kisame, the same dude who beat Jinchuriki like Roshi. Roshi was quick enough to match Kurama Chakra Mode Naruto, so all of this makes sense. Kurama Chakra Mode Naruto also tells Nagato that he's stronger than he was against Pain, despite using Sage Mode and Kurama's power during that fight. To be fair, he barely remembers the power of the partial transformations of Kurama that he used, so Kurama Chakra Mode is stronger than the Sage Mode that Naruto used during the Pain arc. Of course, Sage Mode will get stronger as he takes on Kurama later on, but we're not talking about that Sage Mode. Depending on how you interpret Naruto's statement, he might also be stronger than the partial transformations of Kurama used prior. So Sasuke being at that level makes him faster and stronger than Sage Mode Naruto. In conclusion, who wins this fight between Naruto and Sasuke? This is probably what would go down. Sasuke surrounds his body in the ribcage Susanoo. As Naruto transforms into Sage Mode, Naruto then punches and cracks it pretty casually. This is when Sasuke realizes that Naruto has gotten stronger, which makes him kind of angry and insecure. This hatred actually might make Sasuke stronger. Anyway, Sasuke would know that Naruto is a close quarters combatant with his Sage Mode, and he'd realize this once his Susanoo has been punched, obviously. Sasuke is a long range fighter, so as his powers progress, he'd use his powerful bow and arrow attack to keep Naruto at range. This works out very poorly for Naruto because most of his insane Sage Mode abilities, like the Frog Strike, allows him to send shockwaves through his opponents, are now completely useless. So he has to use a Rasen Shuriken, which he can only create 2 of per transformation. After the second, he's forced to re-enter Sage Mode in order to create more, which does kind of suck, so he's at a massive disadvantage. Naruto can't use a Frog Song either, because Kurama rejects Ma and Pa's chakra, so Naruto doesn't really have much going for him at this moment. Definitely not in the Genjutsu department. In the worst case scenario, let's be generous to Naruto and say that he manages to stall Sasuke's chakra to the point that he has to release his Susanoo, since he should have better stamina at the very least. Even then, Sasuke at first would be able to physically beat up Sage Mode Naruto at close quarters combat with his sword and speed, slicing him up since he's able to match the swordsmanship of Mifune, who's an expert samurai, capable of using techniques like Lido. So Sasuke will slice Naruto up like he did the 8 Tails. Now if that doesn't happen, Naruto could summon his Sage Frogs. If Naruto isn't careful, he could fall under Sasuke's Genjutsu too, which does also work on Sage creatures like Manda, so his summonings are susceptible to that as well. If Sasuke wanted, he could also use the Amaterasu to burn the summonings into unsummoning. Sasuke does have his own summonings like Auda. Auda is a summoning snake who resides in Ruchi Cave and has pledged his loyalty to Sasuke. He's said to have strength rivaling Manda's, is slightly bigger but should technically be stronger. Also his other summoning, Garuda, is like his hawk. Sasuke can use him to fly, which gives Sasuke even more range, making it even more hard for Naruto. Like imagine Naruto trying to jump and like hit this flying bird. He could only use long range attacks like the Rasen Shuriken, which he can't use many of. Although Sasuke's Genjutsu might not work on Kurama, kind of like how it didn't work on Killer Bee. Well, technically it did work on Killer Bee, just not the 8 Tails, and the 8 Tails woke Killer Bee up because they count as 2 separate entities who are working together. However, Kurama wouldn't help Naruto anyway. He'd actually want Naruto to lose and die so he can be reborn somewhere else, free, unsealed. If Sasuke kills Sakura, which he actually might during the fight, then that could lead to Naruto raging and losing control, meaning Kurama's power leaks. This power is shown against Pain, and it might actually be enough to stop Sasuke as implied by Zetsu, but I guess we'll never know. It's definitely implied it could, but it's a completely different topic, so it could probably get its own video if I'm being honest. In conclusion, Sasuke should win this matchup. If anybody disagrees, I'm sure you could talk to me in my Discord server Reach. I am usually active in there. The link will be in the description, so just hit me up if you want to speak or debate. Anyway, that should wrap it up. Comment down below who you think wins, subscribe and like the video, it's free. Even consider being a member if you want. I'm not forcing you, you can. Link will be in the description. Also, don't forget to check out my other videos. Thanks for making it to the end of the video, and peace out.